Oh, we're live. Hey, I didn't see the live button come up then. Hi, everyone. It's the Grey Man here again, and I'm joined by Waxim Mekanix, and he's going to tell us all about his history of in music, and also about his new album. And so I know you said you started. Well, I'll let you just introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are. What do you do?
I'm Ulysses Mekanix, and I'm an American songwriter and a guitarist and a drummer and a singer. And I have a new album out on Electric Talon Records, which is called Mobocracy. And Graham, you were cool enough to do a reveal, or a review, a reaction.
Yeah.
Americans, we can't speak English properly. So you did a reaction video to Victorious, and I want to thank you for that. So
no worries, mate. I've also played you a few times on my podcast as well. I've played you about 3 or 4 times on my podcast.
Checks in the mail, boss.
Yeah, that'd be nice. No. So what is like Waxim Mekanix, first of all? I always ask people about the name of the band. Is that your actual given name, Waxim Mekanix? It's like
so I'm Waxim Mekanix.
It's a stage name.
So it's one guy. So my name is Waxim Mekanix. Now, whenever you interviewed Elton John the last time, did you ask him the same thing?
No, just that I've never interviewed him before. I know he was Reg Prescott.
Did you ask him what his real name was? Let's see. Jay-Z. I know you've interviewed him a few times. Didn't you ask him what his real name was?
No one like that. No one like that, I'm afraid. I don't actually. I did interview one guy who was a solo guitarist, and he just used his own name. But I was wondering if it was there was a story behind it, or if it actually was your given name. That's all I was wondering, really.
I'm just toying with you, and it's a fun. Let me answer it. I'll answer it seriously because I don't have a problem with it. So, I'm a founding member of an American cult rock new wave of British heavy metal band called Nitro. So, and we can
I was asking about
that if you want. So, I'm the drummer of that band, and I'm a primary songwriter. And you'll see me on the back of those records as Tim Wilson.
Right.
So, I have a question for you, Graham. What's more? An album from Tim Wilson or an album from Waxim Mekanix?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Kind of, I don't know what sort of vibe would you say the name has got? It's kind of it rhymed, which is good, I suppose. Kind of rhymed with the X's in there, and the mechanics kind of thing. I don't know. It's an interesting kind of vision kind of thing. I don't know.
Mission accomplished. Right? Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I guess people would talk about it. That's true. So tell us about.
I was going to say, I always did whenever people did that. Well, I'm a big fan of Queen, and we all know that Farouk Bulsara is not as cool as Freddie Mercury when it comes to a cool name.
Yeah, definitely.
Versus Elton John. We all can't be born as Elvis Presley, can we?
No. And remember you've got David Bowie with the Ziggy Stardust period. That made him, didn't it? The Ziggy Stardust kind of persona when he helped him to first break out, didn't it?
It sure did. And, without getting too arty-farty about it, I've been doing the Waxim Mekanix thing for about 10 years. And it helped me to creatively get into a space that was different than Nitro. So I wanted to find some motivation, and it was a creative spark. So I wanted to create a character that I could write from that perspective that would free me a little bit. Now, again, a little arty-farty for folks, but that's really the reason behind it. And I wanted to make sure that I was differentiating my solo work from the Nitro work, because Nitro is still a band, and we still might be coming in your face with some new music. But right now, I want to differentiate what I'm doing solo, and Waxim Mekanix felt right. And, dude, that's what I'm going with. If it feels good, I'm going for it.
Is it like I read a lot of comic books, so is it like a superhero persona for you? Do you have a different persona when you're normal like every day, and then you become Waxim Mekanix when you want to start creating?
Well, my superpower now is that I've got 2 shots of Pfizer in my arm, so that's Waxim Mekanix. It helps me get into a different mind space when I'm writing, and it's a little bit of a superpower. That's true. If people that personally, it's a subtle difference, but I write differently and create differently when I'm doing solo stuff as Waxim Mekanix than I do with Nitro. And it's a simple idea is that when I'm working with Nitro, that's a democracy. And then I have to forge alliances, and I have to compromise, and, all that stuff creatively that all the artists want to yammer about, So I yammer as much as anybody else. The drummer's got a song. Yeah. How much do we hate hearing that? But as Wax Mekanix, I can be a dictator, and I love that. And that's and Electric here will tell you that I'm pretty much a dictator in the studio.
Right.
So
you know what you want
down Steven's throat, so he knows that I'm pretty much a dictator as well.
Does that come from experience of being making music for such a long time that you know what you want and you know so you wouldn't take charge?
Yeah, generally speaking, there are very few things in this world that I know how to do well, and for some reason, making records seems to be one of them. Now that's debatable. You know, if you look at my reviews, some people seem to think that's the case, and yeah, I've been doing it since we made our first record in 1981, and then we were signed to a European label in '83. So I've been making records ever since. First time I was in the studio was probably 1979. So
wow.
As you can tell, you know, I'm holding together pretty well for 25.
Yeah, doing good, mate. Doing good. I was going to ask, like, all the suit and like, is that part of the Wax Mechanic persona, or is that you're always walking around everyday wear?
Well, all of us can't be as handsome as you are, boss.
I know. I'm always being told that.
I've only got so much to work with. So, you know, it is a little bit like, this isn't, I have a Clark Kent kind of job, and this is kind of how I work there. So I feel comfortable in this.
Right.
I have to be honest with you. You know, I have my death metal t-shirts and my ripped jeans as much as anybody else. This helps me to be Wax Mekanix. It helps me in that mind space, and it helps me to feel like that kind of artist. So it's important to dress for success.
Yeah. So it's like a business suit, and like you're all business when it comes to the music kind of thing. It's like a go-getter.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get across. Whether I'm actually going and getting anything is going to be another story.
Yeah.
So I feel comfortable like this, and I also feel comfortable in my birthday suit, but I don't think we're allowed to do that here.
No, it's certainly get you talked about though, but you know, maybe not in the right way.
That's right. So everybody got the idea of what Going Commando was. So that was just an inspiration for everybody to tune in. So hopefully, that's a shout out. Is it possible to do that?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. I have a son that is in Scotland studying in Scotland, and we're big fans of the UK. So I wanted to tell my son, howdy. I love you, buddy. If you're listening, if you're not, you should be, and paying your own tuition.
And tell him to sub my channel as well while he's here.
Absolutely. We will.
Can we go back? Because let's start off let's do a bit of history here. Like Nitro, not a band that I like. How did that come about? Where was you? How many albums did you have? Where does it start? How did it start with Nitro?
Well, it's an American band, and we are essentially we have a really small, modest pedigree, but it's relatively strong, and we formed in 1980. I'm an original founding member. It's a quartet, drums, bass, guitar, and vocals. And basically what we were doing is we formed in this central part of Pennsylvania in 1980, and we started to do our own original stuff kind of right off the bat. So we were taking all the stuff from across the pond that you guys were giving us, the Black Sabbath, the Led Zeppelin, the Judas Priest, the Deep Purple, and we love that kind of thing. And we were mixing it with the American rock like Van Halen and Aerosmith and Boston and Meatloaf and Styx and that kind of stuff. Now, let me stop. I didn't mention Queen. You guys gave us Queen. And if nothing else, we're indebted to you for that. So we brought all those influences in, and Motorhead as well, to what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we filtered all that stuff through our lens, and we gave it back as our original music. So we were kind of tagged as America's answer to the new wave of British heavy metal.
Cool.
And our stuff was more of a, Metallica was coming up at the same time, and Anthrax, and they were a little more thrashy than we were. We had a bit of a pop edge, and we were more sort of British heavy metal and American metal mixed together. And we started out by just a bunch of knuckleheads in a garage in a small town in Pennsylvania. And then we were writing our own things. And then we decided, what the heck? For our gigs, we're going to make a record and sell it at our gigs. And this is 1980, So 1981, we ended up hitting the studio, and we made a small EP, a 10-inch EP that was called Lethal. And somehow we ended up selling it at gigs, and it got over to your neck of the woods. And we started to find ourselves appearing on the pages of Kerrang and on some British charts, and also Sounds magazine and some other things.
Yeah.
And we started to get a little bit of a pedigree, and we were just as shocked as anybody else. So we started to, sell our things via some importers in Europe and in the UK, and we appeared on some charts. And then a European label called Mausoleum got wind of us, and they were sniffing around, and they said, "Hey, do you guys want to release Lethal here in the UK or in Europe and in the UK?" And we're like, "Sure, but let's not release the same record. Let's put some more tunes on it," because we were in the studio, as we always are. And we put 2 more tunes onto Lethal, and we called it Lethal Plus 2. That was pretty inventive.
Yeah, that's on the head, right on the head. That is.
So that really was the one that folks got to know us about around the world pretty well. And we were working on another record it's probably about 1984, 85. And Mausoleum never came back and said, "Give us another record." We didn't get a big tour after that. So we just kept doing our own circuit. And probably about 1985, 86, we were done with our run. But we had a bunch of stuff in the vault. And come the internet and the fetishism that comes along with the internet, people started, getting in touch with us. And we found out, that we weren't just a bunch of knuckleheads with a couple of records out, that we were part of some underground cult fetish sort of thing. And we had a pedigree. And record companies were coming to us to ask to release some things if we had anything in the vault, to do reissues. So cool. The Mighty Skull record of Poland, Bart Gabriel, who is a super guy, said, let's release a definitive anthology of all the tunes that were recorded around the time Lethal was there. So we released it through Skull Records. It was called Lethal Dose. And then we had another record company come to us. I think they were in Portugal, Blood and Iron Records, and Metal Soldiers said, "Hey, we want to release something on vinyl on you guys." Cool. Like, okay, but we'll give you something new. So we had another record that had been recorded for Mausoleum but was never released, and it was called Volatile Activity. So that was a full album of things. And at the same time, we were noodling around as 2013 version of Nitro, and we had a couple of tunes chambered, and we recorded another one that was a brand new one that was called Uranium. So we put Volatile Activity, which was recorded in about 1987, along with a new track called Uranium on vinyl for Blood and Iron Records, and that album is called Volatile Activity. And you can find they're like hen's teeth, but it's a really good.
That's cool.
We've had a couple of CD releases by AOR, released sort of a compilation. We've had some cassette releases by Rapid Fire Records. And Bang Zoom, I'm here with you. And there are lots of people around the world that really like Nitro. I'm a little bit puzzled by it. I'm very proud of it. We've earned it. I try to get more out of it than what it is. But it's something that I'm proud of, and that's where most people know me from, is as the drummer and one of the primary songwriters of Nitro.
Right.
So that's the Nitro legacy.
It seems like a lot of bands, like from the older days, are being rediscovered with the the internet. It took a few years, but a lot of the older bands are being rediscovered, and it's like it's like tape trading back in the day, where you'd discover bands on tape trade. And now it's like people finding it on the internet and sharing it with their. Suddenly it gets to someone and they put it out on a vinyl or whatever. It's really cool.
It's a beautiful thing, and without getting too warm and fuzzy about it, it really does reinvigorate my opinion that no matter how old you are or how young you are, this hard rock and metal community has always been solid. And even old dogs like me, if we'll use the term veteran, that makes me feel good.
Mature.
So veteran artists like me that have a modest pedigree like I do with Nitro, I was really welcomed back into the metal community by folks like you. So thank you very much. And my new record, Mobocracy, has been relatively well received with the help of Steven and Electric Talon and folks like you, and just generally the metal community has been really welcoming to me, and nobody's sort of given me a hard time or the shitty end of the stick or called me a cunt or anything like that.
Not yet. It's still early. I've got a few more questions to go. We might get to that by the end.
I can take it. Throw it out.
So when did the Waxim Mekanix music project start then?
Well, since I was a primary songwriter for Nitro, I've always been writing songs, and they just kind of pile up. And I've been gigging around as Wax Mekanix whenever we had these shallow times with Nitro, because that's what I do. You know, I write songs, I record them, and I perform them. It's and rinse and repeat. So as the songs were piling up, I found myself recording some cool ones with Electric here, and they sort of took on their own connected character. And this was about 2015, 2016. And here in America, you guys know pretty well that we were going through a strange time here with our politics and our social and economic standing. So all those things were permeating a bunch of songs I was writing, and I had about 12 of them written that pretty much sounded like they were on this one particular theme. So I put them together, and Electric and I went through them, and we decided if we're going to make a concise statement about the socio-political status of America, that these were the songs that were going to say that. And at that point, then I started to swing it around a little bit. And our good friends here in Philly at Electric Talon Records, Steven got wind of it. And for some reason, he must have been too high or too drunk. But he said, hey, let's make this record. So he's a big fan of Pabst Blue Ribbon. So I owe my career here.
Drunk too much beer. So that's Democracy is the first album then, the first proper release for this project.
Well, no, I had done for those in the know, and talk about rare. Probably about 5 years ago, Electric and I worked on some tunes, and I put out an album called Tunguska Butterfly. So I dare you to go find it.
Right.
So,
isn't that a region in Russia, Tunguska, where the meteor hit?
Look
is
at
that
this.
Tunguska?
You know your geography well, man. So we'll let that up for those folks that want to go dig in and on the internet and see if they can find it. Yeah, I did an album called Tunguska Butterfly, and cool. That had about a dozen songs on it, and they were pretty cool. And so that was the first solo album that I did. And then I get back to my roots, which was heavy. Right.
I'm breaking up a bit. That's just my internet or your internet. I could get a little bit of breakup noise, but can you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine.
Cool, yeah. What was the sort of the lyrical content like on the Tunguska Butterfly then? Was that like a themed one as well? Was that social, political kind of themes, or is it only Mobocracy that's brought this out of you?
Tunguska Butterfly, you know, I'm not one of these, well, it depends upon who you ask. I don't set off to write, you know, my Sgt. Pepper or anything like that. So the songs seem to be interrelated, and if you get enough of them stacked up and you want to make a cohesive record, you kind of get them that are related. So Tunguska Butterfly was more of a inward-looking record, and it dealt with personal things. It was pretty trippy and used a lot of the influences that we have here in Philadelphia that I was feeling, a little bit of rock, a little bit of urban stuff, and I was tapping into those folks that I was hanging with then. And it certainly wasn't a metal record, but if you go find it, you can judge for yourself what you thought. It's basically an inward-looking record. So it was looking at how people feel about themselves. Now, what I did with Mobocracy was I found the songs that Electric and I were chambering for this. They wanted to be about the social upheaval and the political upheaval that was going on here. Now, again, I want to emphasize, I didn't set out to write that kind of record. The songs were like that. I don't lead them anywhere, man. I just follow them. So that's what I was doing with Mobocracy. And when I played them for Steven, he kind of agreed with that. And, you know, you got to get a third eye and a third ear on some of these things, or else you end up going sideways and getting down into your navel too far. And I didn't want to do that. So good sounding boards, these two guys I have here in the room with me today.
Yeah, I keep getting some breakout. I don't know if it's going to come across on the actual video when it's done. I mean, it was just on my end, but every now and again you turn into a robot and it goes like that. So hopefully it's.
Can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you, and I get like mid-sentence, it suddenly goes funny, and I don't know if it's going to come out on the final thing. It might just be coming on from my end. It might be my internet being slow. Hopefully, it's going okay to YouTube, but we'll see when it comes. When it comes to,
we'll do it again.
Yeah, we could always do another one in a couple of weeks or so. Yeah. So Mobocracy, is that the rule of the mob? Is it basically like the mob rules?
Absolutely. Now we all know the famous Black Sabbath Mob Rules, one of my favorite albums of all time with Ronnie James Dio. Second one that they made together, and the last one I think. Right? They only made two. They made Heaven and Hell, and they made Mob Rules. So I didn't want to redo that, and I'm not trying to hold myself up to Black Sabbath in any breath, because those guys are just gargantuan, and I can only play in that shadow. So the songs that I was putting together, they wanted to talk about those, the tension, the aggravation, the anger that was going on in America and probably around the world to a certain extent. And I was the pond reflecting the oncoming stone. I was simply just taking stuff in and giving it back. So as a songwriter, that's what I do. And then when I was looking for a title, I threw a few of them past Electric, and I said, I really favor this one, this mobocracy, which is ruled by the mob. And he said, that sounds pretty good. That really does sum it up. So I kind of settled on it, and that's why I chose it. And I wanted to have one word that was succinct and concise. I'll do something a bit longer later, but this is what it felt like. So mobocracy feels good. It still feels good to this day, and it really describes the album.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. You ever see that film Idiotocracy, where it's kind of like the political times a little bit like that as well. If you've ever seen that film Idiotocracy, where the idiots got to be in charge, it was like it's a bit too close to home for both our countries.
That's right, and see, we're not the only ones here feeling it. Although America's pretty messy, and we're actually pretty transparent, and we'll mess up the yard, mess up the house, and everybody will see it. But we're on our way to fixing it. I'm a proud American. Even though I do have British roots in my family history, I've been in this country for probably 7 generations, something like that. So I'm in for the long haul here as an American. And my goal was to simply make a statement about what we were going through. That was really it.
Yeah. How about giving us a sort of song by song kind of synopsis then of the each track? I think you had a couple of singles so far. Black was one of the singles that you had. What was the other singles you brought out from the album?
The first one that we dropped at Steven's behest was a song called All Freaks. And, I can tell you a bit about it, and sort of take all the credit in the world for it, that it was this beautiful, God touched me on the shoulder inspiration. But I'm mostly like everybody else, is I'm stealing from everybody. And influences in and I send them back out. So All Freaks was pretty much about what was going on in America when I was writing it, which we would turn to our neighbors and we would say, hey, man, you're the freak in this room. And the other guy would go and say, no, you're the freak. And then another guy would say, no, we're not. No, you're not. We're all freaks. So, synopsis. And I wanted it to have a punk sort of vibe to it. So if you listen to that song at all, it's got this sort of punky vibe to it. And it's aggressive and it's short and it's concise. And I stole from those things that I really loved, which was Motorhead, Elvis Costello, the Ramones. Thematically, I was taking it out of Bob Dylan and The Clash, those kinds of things. But it's a statement of the aggravation that I was getting. You get some friends in a room who liked each other 3 days ago, but then they watch Fox or CNN, and they're at each other's throats, and they're calling everybody a freak. Yeah. So the cool thing about All Freaks was that it doesn't have a guitar solo in it. And I know that's almost blasphemous in a metal context. I wanted to go with a punky kind of thing to it, and I was following Lemmy's lead and Filthy's lead and the Fast Eddie's lead pretty much on that. So, loved it.
Cool. Oh, I've played that on the show, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I remember Black being more of a ballady kind of track, isn't it, Black?
Well, it was. Black is an acoustic tune, and the cool thing about that was I wanted to do 2 things with it. So Black, I wanted it to be sonically different. And it was. It's an acoustic track. It's a bit mysterious. Now, if you look at the lyrics close enough, you're not going to be putting any kerchiefs up to the eye to dry a tear, because Black is about all of those negative dark forces that are bearing down on those people of America. And I wanted it to kind of sum up that sort of feeling of the whole record. Now, the reason that it's acoustic is because I'm a big fan of Zeppelin. And if you listen closely to some of that stuff like Zeppelin 4 I've been mentioning, you'll get When the Levee Breaks, you'll get Rock and Roll and Black Dog, and you also get Going to California and Battle of Evermore. So I like that kind of stuff. Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones pulled out the acoustic guitars. I didn't want it to be sappy. I didn't want it to be sentimental. And if you listen to the lyrics enough, Black, I'm the new white. Black, So welcome to the event horizon. Those are the things I was going for. But Black was, that's the one I wanted to sort of let my audience, if there is such a thing as a Wax Mekanix audience, is to let them know that this is the kind of trip that we're going to be on. It's not going to be full throttle, drums, bass, and guitar cranked up to 11 all the time, although most of the time it will be. I was challenging them to say, hey, if you're going to be an audience of mine, then here's what we're going to do. So far, it's been well received. I haven't had anybody take any shots at me. And so far, yeah.
Yeah. No, I must admit, I was like, when I listened to them, I'm like, I can't work it out. Like, what kind of influences are going on here? It's like, is it alternative metal? Is it modern metal? I don't know. So many genres being banded around. But obviously, it's just like you put everything in a big cooking pot, stir it around, and play whatever you feel like at the time, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Now, as far as a new rock influence goes, even though I'm mentioning all these classic rock things like Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple, the fellas that co-wrote with me on that are relatively new metal guys. There's a band in the U.S. called Crowbot, which are on Mascot Records, and they've got a handful of albums out, and they've been out there on the road for quite a long time. But they're relatively new guys, and they're doing this funky stoner groovy that has some influence of classic rock in it. And two of those guys are my partners in crime on Black, Chris Bishop, guitar player, and Brandon Yeagley, who's the vocalist. Now, if you have not checked out Crowbot, my friend, you need to. They are really good, and they are 21st century dudes. So I wanted to span that kind of stuff, stuff that I brought to it, which was more 20th century and their 21st century look, and do it in an acoustic context that harkened back to Zeppelin and Sabbath. On 13, there was Zeitgeist. That's an acoustic song on a Black Sabbath record. So if they can do it, why can't I?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like you do what you like. It's your blinking project. You can do whatever you feel like with it, can't you? You want to experiment or just go crazy. You can do a 5-minute triangle solo on your next album if you feel like it. I mean, I can.
Yeah, my out, guys. He knows about the So it's pretty cool. Stephen gives me lots of feedback on creative choices because he's a good sounding board for that. But when it really comes down to it, if there's a hill I'm ready to die on, then people will know it. So far, it's been pretty positive. I'll throw things like Black at my audience, and they seem to come back saying, keep up the good work, man. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And what about the one that I did a reaction for, Victorious?
Yeah, I think it was Victorious.
Victorious, yeah.
Right. So Victorious had a dual purpose to it. First of all, on a real primal level, I wanted to have a song on there that was sort of a track that described the kinds of anthemic rock that I loved. I love Back in Black. I love Seven Nation Army. I love Crazy Train. I love We Are the Champions and We Will Rock You. I love, Paranoid and Smoke on the Waters, those sort of anthemic kinds of songs. And I wanted to have one on there like that. But for it to dovetail thematically with the rest of the record, it had to speak to that socio-political thing I was talking about. So if you look at the lyrics close enough, you can simply say, well, I'm just going to take it at face value. And at a football game, I'm going to yell victorious when my team scores a goal. And that's cool. Yeah. And I love those. And we do that here all the time. The other part of it was the rest of the record was a statement about America. And specifically what I wanted to do was for it to say, and you saw in the video, that it was talking about how people carelessly wield power once they get it. And they're not cautious of it, and they're not respectful of it. And we do that quite a bit, and we do that really well in America, which is to screw things up by getting some power and forgetting what our responsibility is. So it's done all over the world. America, we do it in sort of a transparent way, and everybody sees our mess. So that's what I wanted to do. Whether it's science and technology, or whether it's power, or whether it's love, or whether it's somebody messing with your mind on the internet. With great power comes great responsibility. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah, it's true. That's right. The politicians should listen to the blinking Spider-Man, shouldn't they? With great power comes great ability to help your mates out and pull back some money for yourself and fund your own businesses and that kind of crap. And it seems to be, but
for making stuff go sideways once they get a little bit of power. And this mess up. I'm pretty proud of America, the way that we hold together. But the last administration was kind of like that. And I'm neither conservative nor liberal. And the record was supposed to be a statement about America. It's not a liberal record. It's not a conservative record. And that was the thing that I was most concerned with, is that I could sort of stake a middle ground there, not because I was afraid of anything, but because the statement I wanted to make was that this is America, and this is how the artists of America feel about it. That was my job.
Yes, politics is Yeah, that's like sometimes in the heavy metal, people want to ignore all that kind of stuff, all that heavy stuff. Although they like singing about murders and stuff like that, but kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes politics is too much for people. It's just like, I want to get away from all that. It's doing my head in.
Well, and a good thing to know is that I'm not one-dimensional, and I'm not going to be talking politics all the time. That was the record that I made at this time. You know, Neil Young made all kinds of different records, right? The Beatles made all kinds of different records. So I'm feeling a change coming on as well. And I'm making records now in the studio with these guys because things are changing, and I have a new record that's coming out in the summer. It's a split with a label mate of mine, the Mighty Sexy Troll Teeth. Are putting out a split with me, and I'm delivering 2 songs, and they are not political. So these are looking. So the audience that I have will be in for a little bit. Yeah, Troll Teeth can get a little heavy-handed.
I read their lyrics for the upcoming. Yeah, you pull in, but they go out.
So Steven's telling me the Troll Teeth. I haven't heard their stuff, but the record that I'm making now, it's going to be a bit of a change. So I'm looking forward to turning my audience on to a little different shade. So all about politics and mobocracy, we'll put that aside for the next record, and we'll see where we're going to go from there. But yeah, I agree. A little bit goes a long way for sure.
Yeah, because like it comes to some of the video images, it was like Kennedy, like and Watergate fella. What kind of his name now? Tricky Dicky, whatever his name was. Yeah. And Trump, of course, is like,
Well, we did have the Hitlers and the Mussolinis in there too, so it's not all an American thing, right?
Right. Okay.
Muammar Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein. We had some of those folks in it. So there was more of a worldwide sort of statement than it was an American thing. I tied it into the world because we're in a global community. America's messy at the moment, but the rest of the world, those in glass houses should not be throwing stones, right?
Definitely not. Definitely
so
not.
I'm trying to illustrate that. And whenever Steven and I were putting the video together, we wanted to make sure it was a global statement and not just political. If you look at some of those other images on there, it's about technology going sideways as well. So to soften the political edge a little bit, we wanted to make sure that we communicated that. And again, that's what we were feeling at the moment. My audience knows that they're going to get what I'm feeling at the moment because that's my job. And these next 2 songs that I'm going to be coming at them with here in the summer are going to be different. They're going to be more of an inward-looking kind of thing as well. So we're excited about that. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, it's been like I sometimes think it's you say that I was talking about all freaks. Everyone's like shouting at each other, and it's like the internet was good because it let people find new bands. A lot of old bands from yesteryear got rediscovered and reshared and spread. But also it's kind of bad because people talking on the internet, it's just like echo, either in their own echo chamber or they're shouting at each other online. And then every single comment section on every video, it seems like no one wants to be polite to each other anymore or consider their opinion.
That's right. And, we only show... The internet, it's both a blessing and a curse, and this isn't anything new. What we have to try to do is, I'm a sunny side of the mountain kind of guy, so I try to find the good in all people. And, we've forged a pretty good friendship, just you and I here online, and that's a positive thing. But if you want to go spoiling for a fight online, they're easy to find.
Yeah.
I'm grown up, and I put my big boy pants on, and I can take whatever anybody can throw at me, but I'm not going to go out there looking for a fight. And to be honest with you, life is short. I'm going to try to find positive stuff in my life and surround myself with that kind of thing. And I don't go looking for the negative stuff. When I'm an artist, I speak it like it is. And sometimes it's sunny side of the mountain. Sometimes it isn't. So I'm just trying to be honest. That's my job, is to be honest and to forge friendships. And if anything's come out of this new record, it's been this positive feedback that I've gotten, like, hey, dude, you're a vintage guy. Yeah, you had this in the past and it's modest, but show us what you got now. And I'm sure that if I make an incredibly terrible record, they're going to let me know too. But I'm a big boy and I can take that. So the internet is, it's got no filter, I think, other than the people put on it to put themselves in a good light. So for positivity on the internet, not so much negativity.
So it's a better way to be, trying to concentrate on the positive, ignore the negative. It just drags you down.
Yep.
I noticed you've on the Mobocracy album, you got a lot of like guest musicians on different tracks and recording in a lot of different places as well. What was the story behind that?
Well, as a solo artist, I wanted it to be, my trip. So what I can do, what I bring to it is I do the songwriting, I'm doing the lead vocals, I'm doing some guitar, doing all the drums, because drumming is really where I started and was with Nitro. So I'm doing all that, the percussion. And so I enlisted a bunch of cool folks to be on the records, and that's fun. Nitro had a very narrow and defined mission statement, and we only wielded certain tools. With this solo record, Mobocracy, I wanted to bring in some other influences and bring in some other perspectives. So my secret weapon has been my really good friend, who's a guitarist and a bassist. His name's Tom Altman. And Tom's a Philadelphia musician here who's just amazing. He has a different perspective than I do. And then when I brought in Chris Bishop from Crowbot, he had a completely different perspective than Tom did. And he brought a whole different vibe to it. So I brought in a bunch of different musicians so that I could have a different batch of perspectives. My goal was to not sound like anybody else. I wanted to forge a unique sound. I simply recorded around various studios in Philadelphia when they were ready, and when I had to cut real drums, I found a studio that we could cut real drums at. When I was doing vocals, Electric and I found some good studios to do that. Guitars were recorded all over the place. And in the 21st century with technology, you can sort of mail it in. So we had a little bit of that going on. Some folks in far-flung places were doing their parts in their homes and in their studios and sending them to us. And so it was a communal effort. I want to make sure that I state that I was the weakest link in the chain. I tried to surround myself with great players and get out of their way. So I made a mission statement, wrote a tune, gave a general idea of what I wanted to do. And these guys and gals that are working on Mobocracy with me are talented enough to know what they need to do. So I was getting out of their way and letting them do their thing. And I'm so glad I did, because the record came out wonderfully.
Cool.
And, Electric put it all together, and it was mixed by a fellow by the name of Gene Machine Freeman. The sonic architecture of this record is due to Electric and Machine. Machine has done records by Lamb of God and Clutch, King Crimson, Crowbot, and I'm still kind of high from working with him. He's great, and he's working on my new records as well. Cool.
Any plans to, like, obviously, first of all, I was going to say, it kind of must have been hard to do all this recording and getting out there with the big pandemic that's been going on. A lot of people not being able to get out of the house, have had lockdowns and that kind of thing. How has that affected the band and the album?
Well, the album, you can't get behind it and gig and promote it that way. So that's a little bit of a downside to it. I like to try to make lemonade out of lemons. So when I'm dealt lemons, my goal was to do as much of this kind of thing as we could do, chatting with great folks like you and getting the word out. And also I was writing and recording some new stuff. So I knew that I was going to be down for a while, and Electric and Steven and I decided we're going to do some recording. So that's what we're doing now. When gigs return, when it's safe, then we're going to go out and do that. So we're chomping at the bit to get out and get in front of people and hug and shake hands and raise fists, and for God's sake, buy some damn merch, please. Continue to do it,
Have you got the lineup, the lineup planned for the live gigs, or is that kind of still up in the air?
Still putting it together, because most of the folks I worked with on the record were studio folks.
Yeah.
And so it's probably going to be Tom Altman is going to be on guitar. It's going to be me, and we're calling on some friends right now to put it together. So we just started to do that recently because of being vaccinated. You really couldn't even get together to jam until it was safe.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned earlier, my superpower now is that I'm Pfizer Superman because I've been vaxxed, and so I'm getting vaxxed and able to do that. Now, if you want to get vaccinated, that's great. If you don't, that's great. I'm not going to debate anybody about the earth being flat or Santa Claus. We're getting vaxxed, and we're not hanging out until we get that kind of chance. So, even these are vax-only kind of sessions.
Yeah, I'm half there. I've had one jab so far, the AstraZeneca one. So I'm halfway to being safe, hopefully.
Well, if I'm going to die for something, boss, this is not it. I'm not going to die for something stupid like, virus. I'll die for country. I'll die for love. I'll die for music. I'll die for friendship. But I will not die for this stupid virus.
No, fucking hope not. So many fucking people have, though. It's been like, it's been like science fiction this year to me. Every time it's kind of like, it kind of feels like you're dreaming or in a nightmare. You're going out, you're wearing a mask, everyone's wearing masks, and it just feels like, wow, this just feels so weird and surreal, doesn't it?
It does, but what it's done is it's really sent a message. As far as I'm concerned, without getting too hippy-dippy, arty-farty about it, it's reminded us that we are all interrelated on this planet, and we need to act accordingly. Doesn't matter if you're black or white or brown or yellow or red. It doesn't matter if you're British or American or if you're Russian or if you're Ukrainian or if you're South American. We're all interrelated. So this is my interpretation, is that the universe is sending us a message. Hey, you folks need to get your shit together and love each other. That's what I think is going on. The masks are a drag, and you know, I'm a kind of guy that I like to make friends instead of breaking balls. So I'm looking forward to the time when we can get together and take the masks off and buy each other a few pints and to 11 again. Really stoked for that.
Especially some live gigs. Like it's been over a year since the last live gig I went to. So
well, they're coming soon. So what we have to do, and again, I feel the same way, and everybody that I talk to that's in music feels the same way. We can't get there fast enough. But what we have to do is to let's see this through to the end. Let's get vaxxed. Let's continue to wear masks. And if people don't agree with me, that's fine. But that's the way we're going to approach it. And probably by late 2021, early 2022, we'll be able to get out there and gather again and celebrate. And that's going to be glorious, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, cool. Talking of like, go back to any old past gig memories with Nitro. How was it? Did you do a lot of gigging with them?
Absolutely. We started in 80. I was gigging around before that, before I joined them. So I've been playing solid there. Probably pretty good. Even after Nitro stopped in about 86, I did some gigging as well. So we were doing 3-4 nights a week, playing in the nastiest pubs that America could hold up. Played a couple of cool shows. You know, did a small set of gigs with an American band in the late 80s. They were called Kicks. So those were a few thousand people. Those were really memorable. Really like that. The most important thing,
were they a glam band?
I'm sorry?
Were they a glam band, Kicks?
They were
hair metal or something like that.
They started out as sort of like an Aerosmith, Rolling Stones kind of thing in the early 80s, and then they kind of glammed it up a little bit. Right now they're out on the retro hairband circuit, I think. Now, let me tell you that those guys are really good. They're from our neck of the woods here in Pennsylvania. They're from Maryland. I know them relatively well. Their music is good. And so they had a bit of an MTV run in the 80s and got a bit of a reputation for that. They were signed to Atlantic for a while. I don't know who they're on now, but I just saw some adverts. They're still out there playing around. Had some great gigs with them. I have to be honest with you, boss. The most important thing I can remember about Nitro was that there was no internet and it was all do-it-yourself and word of mouth.
Yeah.
And that was fun and exciting. And I'm just trying to take advantage of that little bit of a reputation that I had with them and the pedigree to maybe step into the 21st century gig. And so far, people have been welcoming me with open arms, which is great.
Well, you've seen obviously the change in technology and the change in the way stuff is recorded, probably the way gigs are organised, the way you can send. You haven't got to be in the same country now to do an album. Right. How would you think? What do you think are the best? Have I lost? Did I lose sound then? What's the best improvements and what's the worst things that have happened over those years? Do you reckon? What's the pros?
Well, the pros. I try to see all the pros, so I'll go down through the cons here pretty quickly, and then we'll get on to the sunny side of the mountain. The only con that I really have about this is that the artists aren't getting paid for the work, and there's a double-edged sword to Spotify and the streaming services. That's the thing that probably bugs me the most, is that these really great musicians, there's a lot of really great people that won't be able to have a career because they simply can't afford to do it. And you don't walk into the local Tesco and just snag a bag of crisps and walk out, now do you? You have to pay them for it. So I see it as the same thing, is if a musician has a product out there, and if I like them, I will lead with my wallet, and I'm going to buy their merch, I'm going to buy their music, and I'm not going to steal stuff. So the Spotifys of the world, we can debate that all day long, but it's amazing that the artists are struggling to get paid, and now with gigs gone, it really made it a real pronounced problem. Said all that to say that that's probably the only thing that I really don't like. What I really like is that this ubiquitous nature of people being able to master the technology and all these great artists we wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to hear because of some record company gatekeeper that didn't like the way the guy's nose bent in a certain direction. He never got a chance to make a record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so much great music that I found. There were good things in the past, that recording analog stuff is overrated. I'm here to tell you because, the tape hiss, I'm not a big fan of it. And I recorded analog one take the whole way through, and I've done Pro Tools where you cut and paste and put stuff together.
Yeah.
So, it's all about the song. And basically what I found is that what's remained constant is that there are really great songwriters out there. And whether it was in 1981 when we were writing songs and recording them to tape, or if it's 2021 and we're here working on some vocals that were recorded in another state. And it all sounds great. If the song is good, I think it'll come through no matter what technology you wield. I really think it's an important part that we support those folks that are out there that are going to be gigging soon. So if you don't do anything else, let's go out to some shows, buy some merch, and show people some love and say, keep up the good work. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah. Good. Well said, mate. Well said. When is the split going to be coming out that you just mentioned?
Well, Steven keeps telling me that it's probably going to be sometime in August. So we're working on it right now, and we do have a title. I'm going to hold on to that, and we're going to whip that into a frenzy, and we'll do all the fun, sexy stuff about releasing the title and the songs and that kind of thing. But right now, it looks like we're going to be releasing it in July or August, and you'll be one of the first guys I'll be in touch with because I'd like to revisit with you, and you can tell me what you think.
Yeah, cool. That'd be awesome. You can maybe come onto one of my Friday night hangouts. We do like Friday night hangouts, so just a few metalheads to sit and have a beer and talk about whatever comes up. And you can come on and talk about your split on there sometime in the future when it's ready. And also, obviously, send me an MP3 to play on the podcast as well, of course.
You'll be one of the first to get it.
How did the deal? Is it like you've got a record deal with Electric Talent, or you signed up for a certain amount of records?
Yeah, I give him beer and he releases my records.
Is that the deal?
Yeah. So I pay the photographer in whiskey. I pay Matt in gift cards to the local Tesco. And in beer.
Cool.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's exactly right. And my mates had helped me out. They do it for love and for, we'll order in some food. So we paste it together. So Electric Talon, we're kind of doing it a project at a time. That's the technical answer is once Steven gets tired of me, he reserves the right to kick me to the door.
Well, you best keep interesting then. Best stay interesting.
Yeah, it's like having a girlfriend. You don't want to have too many dates with him. You got to romance him a little bit of mystery. So far, I've got fooled. He's going to release another record. So we'll see what happens after this one drops.
Cool. So the Mobocracy, was it digital, cassette, vinyl, CD? What formats is it out on?
Well, because of the pandemic, we've done the digital. So that the economic model was weird to start with. You only did physical product if you could have it at the merch booth with your live gigs. So whenever Stephen and I and Electric Talon got together, we decided that it's probably best to do the digital, see how that goes, and then whenever gigs come back, we're going to do some physical. So we're not really sure what's going to happen, and it might happen for Mobocracy sooner than later. We'll see what happens, though. It's all dependent upon when the gigs come back. So right now, it's physical, but those folks that have been showing us some love on Bandcamp and such, we really appreciate it. And that's how it's done now. Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, it's a whole different way of doing things, isn't it, really? Yeah.
Right. I like to hold it in my hands, so it kind of feels like a real record when I hold it in my hands. But this has been fun, and this is the way we decided to do it. It's a team effort, and we want to make sure that we do it as best we can economically. So stay tuned. I think at some point we'll have some physical stuff for Mobocracy out there, but I'm not sure when.
Yeah, cool. Fuck it. I had a question. I forgot what the question was now.
The question is,
sorry?
I said the question really is, where's your beer?
Oh man, I had a beer Friday night. I had a beer last night. I don't drink every night. I'm too old for that crap now. It's like financially plus physically, it's like, oh yeah, once in a while is good enough for me. So, yeah. But when as soon as you say it though, you think, oh yeah, I could kill a beer now. I could just get my mouth around a beer right now. It'd be lovely. But never mind.
In London, you and I will be tilting some back, and they're on me.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, come and visit then when the pubs are open again. When they're kind of opened. Sort of open, but you're only allowed to drink outside. You're not allowed to go in, kind of thing. You got to sit in the garden. But hopefully, it'll all get back fucking to normal eventually.
You wanted to talk about how handsome and how smart I was, right?
Yeah, we did that. We did that bit already. Sorry, it's annoying. I'm always getting like questions come in my head, and then when I come to, I must remember to say that. And as soon as it comes to the point where I could be saying it, it's gone. It's absolutely disappeared. That's too much.
My wife all the time. Whenever she says, "Why aren't you talking to me?" I'll say, well, "I just give me a second. I'll pull it back."
I had a conversation in my head, and now it's all gone. Too much beer and headbanging. That's the trouble. So what about after the split? Then what have you got planned? Have you got anything planned for another album after that, or are you just going to see it's all up in the air? You can't really sort of plan things properly with everything at the moment, can you? So
always writing songs, and to be honest with you, Stephen and I are talking now about a full-length Wax Mekanix record in 2022. I have the songs for that. I've got enough songs. If I never write another song, I can hear 3 or 4 albums from me. So I've got enough material. What we're trying to do is to put together an album that will happen after the split. So probably about 2022, there'll be another just standalone Wax Mekanix record if everything goes well. Now, again, Stephen reserves the right to tell me to hit the road. So
yeah,
I'll let you know.
I just remember what I was going to ask you. Oh, I forgot again. No, you've been doing a lot of press, I take it. So how has the reaction been to the Mobocracy? Have you had a lot of good reviews for it and had a good other chats? I've seen on your pages sharing people who've been playing your stock tracks and all that kind of thing, different podcasts around the world. How's it been going?
Well, generally speaking, I was ready for getting stones and nappies thrown at me, but that didn't happen just because of, you have to be prepared for the worst. So all joking aside, it's been really positive. I've been getting, generally speaking, positive reviews. There's a couple of guys that just don't feel it, and that's okay. But from all over the world, too, we've been getting some response. You name the country, and they've pretty much reviewed it and said that they're feeling it. So lots of stuff going on in South America now. I'm hearing from them, and it's been positive. I was a little apprehensive about how somebody with my vintage status would be received. The record seems to be standing on its own, and most people really don't care about me personally. They just are digging the music. They're understanding what I was trying to do. So, mostly in Europe, and America's coming on board, South America, Mexico, the Mediterranean, getting a little bit of the Eastern Bloc countries coming on board as well. So it's been really positive. I really feel lucky, and it bolsters my enthusiasm for doing more records. And people are real tolerant of it. Like I gave them Black as the single, and I thought, okay, it's going to go sideways here pretty good because it's acoustic. It's not sappy and sentimental acoustic. It's kind of like Zeppelin Sabbathy acoustic, and we'll see if they like it. So I was not underestimating people's ability to be open-minded, and people were. So far, so good.
Cool. When you actually comes to the time to actually make some physical releases, have you got distribution in place? Does Electric Talent have distribution all around the world, or are you gonna have to start looking to getting other labels involved in other territories?
At this point, we're gonna put all of our eggs in the basket with Stephen because he seems to think that we've got something that we can work with here around the world, and he's got distribution. I'm not sure what all the details are, but as soon as that's available, yes. Now, if anybody wants to sign me to a big rock star multi-million-dollar contract, then bring it on.
Yeah, you're ready for it. Yeah, you're ready for it.
All joking aside, I wanted to stay in America, and I wanted a local label so that we could have hands-on, talking to a record company over the internet. That doesn't give me a warm and fuzzy, man. So it's good that Stephen and I can get nose to nose, and he can push me up against the wall, and I can push back if we don't. It's that kind of thing. We're mates, and it's good to work face to face. But it was a deliberate effort to stay local. But if there's anybody out there that's interested in Wax Mekanix, then simply let me know, and it'll get Stephen to bring his A game to me, won't it?
Yeah. So what's it like then in the recording? Then is it like beer, do a bit of singing, another beer, smoke, bit of singing. How does it go? Is it like prostitutes come in at half time or something? How is the recording process?
What you've just described were the Nitro record recording sessions. So these days, no. These days, it's pretty much all business. We don't even let the wives in, frankly. So whenever we get a chance to work, it's typically we're working hard and we're working focused, and there's a little bit of fun. I was doing the records, the songs from Mobocracy with Crowbot, and those guys are a lot of fun. So I thought, well, they're a bunch of slap happy knuckleheads, and there's a joke every 5 seconds, and I said, well, what happens whenever you hit record? And when you hit record, they snap right into line and the great work comes out. So yeah, we loosen it up a bit when we have time. I don't think, there's a bottle of Jack Daniels somewhere in a file cabinet in the studio, but I haven't found it yet.
It's putting a dust on it. When you find it, it's gonna have a layer of dust on it, so it's not been used.
I'm always sober when I come in, so I can only come to the conclusion that he's not been drinking.
Yeah, I kind of
sober guy.
When you hear the stories of some of the old rockers, the old metalheads, of the crazy things they got up to when they were recording, it's just a wonder that anything ever got done back in the day.
Yeah, we had a little bit of that with Nitro, although I wasn't much for doing it. You'd walk into a studio and there'd be, the remnants of cocaine on the desk, and there'd be bottles laying around. I have to be honest with you, I was never much of a partier. Although I drank my share of beer, and I probably drank your share of beer in the 80s too.
Yeah.
Smoked a little weed, a little bit of Mother Nature was okay.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm pretty much high on life. I have the occasional beer, but I'm not against it. It's just not a big part of my day. But back in the 80s, when we were cranking out those Nitro records, man, and I was 25 years old. There wasn't a time when there wasn't a beer stain on my jeans, buddy.
The kind of accepted kind of thing is that the drummers are always the nutters of the band, and so obviously you being the drummer of the band, you're now doing it yourself. Is that because no one would have you anymore because you was too nutty for them, and so that you had to go forced to do your own project?
Well, what happened is the guys in Nitro, we're still brothers, we're still friends, and we're still a band. Dana Confer's the lead vocalist. Dude was a classic lead vocalist who was old school. He looked the look, he had the attitude, he could sing the chops. And if the drummer brought an idea in, he always had to vet it. He always had to say, don't like this, I'm not going to sing that line, change that word. And I would say, if you don't like it, fucking write it yourself. So no, and that was just our own approach to it. So in Nitro, it was different because the drummer was bringing all the cool songs. So imagine that.
It's unusual. So what is your musical background then? Because when did you sort of learn your instruments?
Well, I grew up in the 60s, so probably in the early 70s, I picked up the drums against my parents' better thoughts. I'll beat them into it. So I started playing drums probably at about 13 or 14 years old. And I was also playing harmonica and picking around on the guitar. I was a bit of a nerdy kid, so I was writing, I would write stories and poems. So it all kind of came together. I was listening to Kiss, and I was listening to the Cars, and I was listening to Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and ELO and Deep Purple and all that cool stuff. Judas Priest when they came through our lens. And that's how we learned it. I was not formally trained. I tried taking some lessons, but I remember that the guy who was trying to teach me how to play guitar said, "Tim, you're a drummer." So put the guitar out. My guitar chops are a little better, but both Steven and Electric will tell you that I play guitar like a drummer.
With a pair of sticks.
Progressive approach. So,
that's a good way of doing it, I suppose. It's interesting. Right.
Sketch them out. I'll turn most of the virtuoso stuff over to the real professionals. Even though I'm playing some rhythm guitar on some of these things, and I write on guitar typically. I'll turn it over to Tom Altman and Chris Bishop and Pop Sewell and some of my buddies that really know how know their way around the guitar. But I sketch them out pretty much, and they fill in the great stuff.
Do you think there might be a new release from Nitro at some point?
Well, hopefully the guys are watching. So the guys in the band are Dana Confer on lead vocals, John Hazel's the guitarist, and Brad Gensemore's the bass. So I've been trying to get them to make a new Nitro record for a couple of years. So, guys, if you're listening, get your shit together. I got the song. Let's get together. So, all joking aside, I think we will. you know, they're all still active musically, and we were getting together before the pandemic, and we have a whole bunch of Nitro songs written, but we haven't recorded anything since Uranium, which was probably 2013. So we're due for it. But I'm lighting a flame under their arses with the solo Wax Mekanix stuff. So they better get their shit together, or else I'm gonna have a solo career.
Get their jabs and get in the studio. That's what I say.
Yeah, I think we're not. I don't think we're done. Nitro has a lot to do, and we did evolve a little bit, which can be a dirty word in some people's minds, but I like the way that it was growing. And I'm going to push the guys to make some more Nitro, and hopefully that'll happen sometime soon. But we don't have anything planned now because this pandemic's got things all.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking. It's kind of getting tiresome talking about it all the time. And every time I do a hangout or an interview, you know, the pandemic comes up because it's all you can. It's fucking. It's taken over the world, isn't it? That and politics.
I think if we hang in here through the summer, I think we're good. I have to be honest with you. You know, my lovely wife is she's a scientist in pharmaceuticals, and I've been checking in with her, and she's been telling me that you know, the vaccines are fine, and the way that we're approaching them is good. And if we just do what the scientists tell us by masking up and washing our damn hands and getting vaccinated, this will all be over by the end of the summer.
Yeah. So your wife works in medicine, you say?
Well, yeah, she works in pharmaceuticals. She's a scientist by education. So she knows her way around the lab pretty good.
Yeah, but someone on Facebook said that it would make your head fall off if you have a jab. I don't know who to believe. A scientist.
When did they get a medical degree? That's my question. When did they get a medical degree?
But this is the thing, going back to what we were saying about the technology and the internet having like a double-edged sword. There's so much conspiracy stuff, man, and people will just believe something once they get like a slight nugget of like thinking, oh, this could be true. They start seeing things over and over again, and like going down a rabbit hole can't you sort of go down a slide. Once you start thinking one thing sounds feasible, then the next thing's gonna start sounding feasible, and a couple of months down the line, you believe in the most fucking bizarre, fucking ridiculous things because it's feeding into the narrative you built up in your own head, kind of thing.
People want to hear what they want to hear, how they want to hear it, you know. And there's not anybody that I know that if they have their head screwed on properly, believe any of this wacky conspiracy stuff. You know, Microsoft putting chips or something in you when you're getting the vaccine. I mean, this is ridiculous. So I appreciate that people have different views on it. I understand what fears and boogeymen people have in their own lives, and it manifests itself in their opinions. I have to be honest with you. I've been educated in some of the best universities in America, and I follow the science. My Clark Kent is as an engineer, so show me the facts and the data. That's where I'm at. And my missus surely knows what she's talking about. And so anybody that wants to spout off on the internet, have at it. If you want to have a serious conversation, well, then we'll have a serious conversation. So conspiracy theories aside, I think most people know that they want to protect their families, their children, and their grandparents, and they're going to follow knowledgeable people to do that. And those are the scientists. You're going to have conspiracy theories no matter what. You know, some people still believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and that the earth is flat. I have nothing for those people. What do I can't argue with them.
Yeah. Well, if I was to be one of those people, I'd say you're just shilling for Big Pharma. You're being the Big Pharma are paying you to say these things, man.
Oh, come on. Look at me. I'm just rolling in that Big Pharma money.
Absolutely. I know. It's just let's not go there. You can talk about these kind of crackpot stuff all day, but we've done it. We've been talking for an hour. I hope that sounds come out all right on the video. He's kept chopping up for me, but it might just be on my end. Hopefully, it's streamed properly on actual YouTube without any chopping up.
This side, so hopefully we're good.
Probably is just my end, and hopefully it's come out okay on YouTube. A couple of times I'm like, I can't hear what he's saying. It's all going weird.
I have to be, and again, sunny side of the mountain. Wax Mekanix says that's a small price to pay for you and I to be mates now, talking about cool music across the world. I just love that. So a little
it's good.
A little bit of wackiness is okay with me because we get the benefit of doing this, and we get to I get to talk to some of my audience and maybe some news folks as well, some of yours. So it's a beautiful thing, and I want to thank you for taking the time. I know that you have lots of folks coming at you with music, and they want your time and your ear. So, Graham, I want you to know that this is really appreciated. Sincerely, mate. I really appreciate the effort that you've put in here and inviting me here and putting me in front of your audience. Without that, I would just be another dude with a crappy demo.
Cheers, man. Thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll chat again sometime in the future. So maybe come on to one of my Friday night hangouts or something like that sometime in the future. Or when you got the split, maybe you can come and have another chat then. Something like that. Whatever. We'll talk hopefully again in the future anyway. I'm
sure we will. And you invite me and I'll show up. It's been great chatting. Really appreciate what you do.
All right, cool. I was going to say, what's on my schedule? Tomorrow, the next episode of High Speed Hangover will be on the usual platforms. Check out my links down below to find my blog where all my podcasts are. It's the last Sunday of the month, which is always a themed show. So it's the themes all about phobias. Phobia themed show this month, so check that out. And there's so many phobias, I've actually got it's going to be about 5 shows, so I'm going to alternate it between my last show of the month and my Patreon show. I do a Patreon show every month as well, so if anyone's got a Patreon, you'll get part 2 of the phobia themed show. Anyway, that's it from me. I'll let you say goodbye and say your last things, and then we'll bugger off.
So thank you again, and folks, the only thing that I would have to say is, if you love somebody, tell them that you love them. Take care of them.
Yeah. See you later, everyone.